was watching your presentation this morning about 5 fingers, which I found very helpful and clear system or method to expose the morality, the moral aspects that can be discussed by philosophy, and I'd like you to explain that to us.
So yeah, the moral hand, what is it? It actually captures my whole complete ethical system.
Yeah.
It is 5 ethical principles, and with these I can brought all kinds of problems, animal equality, for example. So what I did is I start with moral intuitions and I translate them into principles and see if I can construct a consistent system, an ethical system of animal equality that is consistent. That was my goal, and I think I did it.
So what are these 5 principles of animal equality?
Let's start with the thumb. The thumb actually refers to what we value as impartiality. You can call it rule universalism. Because it says something like you must follow those rules that everyone must follow in all morally similar situations towards all morally equal individuals. So that's a very formal, abstract rule. It does not yet say what kind of situations are morally equivalent. So that's why you have to apply the thumb and the other principles to find out.
And the second principle would be the index finger?
The index finger, that refers to well-being. So what is important, what should be increased in the world? Well-being of all sentient beings. So that's where sentient becomes important. And you look at lifetime well-being, so how strongly would you like to live the life of, for example, a cow in a dairy farm? Or how strongly would you want to live the life of a human? Yes, you're sitting here now. So lifetime well-being, we should increase everyone's well-being. But we should give a priority to the worst sufferers, the worst of positions. They should get a priority to
the worst
there. The worst sufferers.
The worst sufferers.
The worst people.
Those who are suffering more should be given a priority.
The persons, individuals with the lowest well-being, the lives that are less worth living. We should give a priority to increase their well-being. That's the second finger. And that's based on all kinds of intuitions, based on empathy.
And then the third finger, which is the longest finger?
The longest finger, that means that this refers to a principle that is stronger than the principle of well-being. It's called a mere needs principle.
Mere needs.
It says that we should not use a sentient being as merely a means to someone else's end. And why is this important? Well, there are a lot of intuitions that cannot be captured by the forefinger. For example, we should not, without permission, kill someone, a person, sacrifice him for organ transplantation to save 5 people in hospital. So they need organs, new spleen and new kidney.
So the life of that one person is not less valuable than the life of those 5 persons, because then it would be interfering with that person's right to their body.
It's a right to bodily autonomy. And now if you only measure well-being, so you have the well-being of 5 people versus the well-being of 1 people, the 5 people.
That's more valuable.
So the forefinger will say sacrifice 1 person and save 5. That's 5 saved on that.
But that one is longer, so it's
this longer. That means that there's a basic right to bodily autonomy, a basic right not to be used as merely a means. And this right is at least as 5 times as strong as the right to live for the other people. And it trumps, like in card play, it trumps the right to live. So that's why it's stronger. And you see when it's violated when there are 2 conditions met. So it's the mere means principle. So that means the word mere means you do something that the individual does not want. And means that the body is necessary for your plan to work. If you want to save people in hospital, the body of the victim is necessary for this work. Because otherwise you don't have organs. And so there are thousands of other, you should not use someone as a human shield, you should not terror bomb in war, terror bomb in the army. slavery is bad, even if it increases well-being. And it's always the same reason you should not use someone as a means.
So the second principle, which applies to means, is that the body is necessary.
Yeah.
And the first principle, which refers to the word mere, is when the person who's ill, is being used against their will.
Mere means you violate something that the person wants. The person has to do or undergo something, like a cow in a dairy farm is treated in a way that is artificially pregnancy and so on.
She didn't consent to that.
So you violate the body autonomy.
Let's go to the fourth principle.
Then the ring finger, that's in philosophy that refers to environmental ethics. It refers to the value of biodiversity. And the reason why this is important because there are still other intuitions that cannot be solved with the other things that we've seen. And the strongest intuition is even a lot of animal rights activists have this intuition. We should not stop the lion from killing the zebra. We do not have a duty to save the zebra. And now that looks strange because one lion kills in a lifetime thousands of zebras. And the zebra is used as merely a means because the body of the zebra is necessary. The zebra does not want being killed. Well-being is lower and so on.
So why does that overlap the other principles?
Well, what happens is, suppose we say we have a duty to protect the zebra and stop the lion. If you say we have a duty, that's a rule. I apply the thumb to the ring finger.
Yeah.
Whatever, if it's a duty, it means that we should universalize the rule, which means that all predators should stop hunting, all of them. If they stop hunting, they die. If they die, a lot of biodiversity is lost. If biodiversity is valuable, that's valuable. So what we have actually is, if you look at the forefinger, that's a sentient being as something that's a property, well-being, and there's a tendency to increase property. Now the ring finger says an ecosystem as something, a property, biodiversity, and there's a natural tendency to increase.
You must allow that in order to preserve the ecosystem, right? The ecosystem right?
And evolution, due to evolution and genetic mutation and so on, there's a natural tendency to increase biodiversity. Of course, there are constraints, like there are constraints with regard to well-being. You cannot do everything to increase your well-being. You want to, but there are constraints, limits. The same happens in ecosystems. There is natural selection to that limit the increase in biodiversity. But you can give biodiversity some value, which says that there are other situations like hypothetical situations. What happens, for example, if insects were really sentient beings, were little persons? Would we have to stop moving around because we by accident kill thousands of insects? No, because movement is necessary for us. If all big animals would stop moving, a lot of biodiversity will get lost. So that's the ring finger. Then we have the last one, the little finger. This actually refers to a kind of partiality. There's a famous example, burning house dilemma. Suppose in a burning house, your child or a dog, one of them you can save. Even most animal rights activists say, I will save my child instead of the dog. That does not mean that you are discriminating dogs, that you're preferring humans.
So if I chose the child, how am I not being a speciesist in that case?
Well, the interesting to see it is if I translate dog into, let's compare a child from Africa. Your child or child from Africa, you say your child, are you now racist because the child from Africa has no skin color or something? No.
It was not the reason why I did not choose the child of color, was not because of the color.
You are allowed to be partial towards people you hold dear. So emotionally, not everyone is equal. Emotionally, you strongly favor your own children, your friends, your family. So there's emotionally an inequality. But still, in the burning house dilemma, there can be a subtle kind of equality. And how do we see it? There are two reactions. So let's say I say the child from Africa, and you say like, no, children from Africa, they are black, they are have less rights, you should have saved my child. If you say that, you would not tolerate my shows, you're a racist. You would discriminate. But you can say, yeah, look, yeah, I'm very sad that my child died, but I understand your shows. I would also.
I would have done the same.
I cannot judge you for making the wrong decision. You're allowed to be partial.
Yeah.
So
because the decision was based on his connection and not because he was an animal, or not an animal because he was a child. Right?
So we are allowed to be partial on the condition if we apply the thumb to the middle finger. It means that if you have a level of partiality, then you should be willing to, that everyone has a similar level of partiality in all similar situations. If you cannot want it, then this level of partiality is too high.
You have to accept that other people should do the same to you. Right?
For example, if you harm someone in order to save your child, if you kill another child in order to save your child, that will already be, if you kill two children in order to save your child, it will really be way too partial. We would not tolerate that kind of partiality in everyone. That's the four-finger principle, which say life protest, well-being is in danger.
Yeah.
So the little finger, it's a little finger, so it's a weak principle. It can a little bit deviate from the other fingers, which means that you can be a little bit partial, but you should tolerate everyone else's partiality on a similar level. If you cannot do that,
so there's a limit to that partiality because otherwise it could be dangerous.
Yeah.
It could justify it.
So it's not easy to justify racism or speciesism by using the little finger because that kind of partiality will be too high. But you can prefer your own family and your friends. That kind of partiality, everyone has its strong need to protect their own family,
and that will be accepted.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. But I have one more question, which is what do you believe, in your opinion, is the future of animal rights, and how are we going to get there? What are the paths that may lead our movement to achieve an animal liberation?
Well, there are different approaches. One of them, perhaps most effectively in numbers, is kind of a vegan outreach campaign. And vegan outreach not simply saying to people become vegan for the rest of your life, but more in the sense of vegan challenges. That works in social psychology. We use the tricks of social psychology, like a specific goal for a month in vegan and try new recipes and so on, setting positive targets. Don't say never eat meat anymore. So use that kind of the tricks of social psychology.
Yeah.
And then people will make new habits, learn new nice, tasty meals and so on. And then the real tricky thing is actually the livestock farming and use of animals and so on. It's really going against our deepest moral values that we share. Even meat eaters, most of the meat eaters that I know, that I encounter, they have moral values and moral intuitions. But they are not aware that their system is inconsistent. If you take the strongest values and the strongest intuitions and put them together and make the system coherent, you will end up perhaps something close to the five fingers. But they don't realize it because the five fingers they apply veganism.
So the path is, you're saying that the path is actually helping people make that connection.
Make them aware of their strongest values, and there is a difficult thing of if their behavior is not aligned with your values, then they have kind of cognitive dissonance, and that makes it very difficult. And there is a good pressure. Everyone needs meat. It's really strange. If everyone in the world, everyone that you know, your parents and so, and even you did something terrible 3 times a day. Something really, really discriminating, really the most fundamental rights are violated 3 times a day. Your parents do that, your friends do it, and people do it for many years already. Then it's really difficult to say like, oh yeah, what I did is really big discrimination. It's we can use the word animal holocaust or whatever. It's on that scale of suffering and discrimination.
Mentally, it's hard. There are defenses that will not allow us to recommend that.
It will become very difficult. So that's why it might be more strategic to focus for veganism on health and environment, for example, use other approaches. And then we see if people eat less meat due to health reasons, then they are often more open for the animal Right.
And then the second step, you come with the evidence argument. Yeah. So you're not really saying to take it incrementally, but what you're saying is to present the arguments incrementally, asking for the full thing, the whole thing, which is big and
Well,
but
you can, increments are not a real problem. You can start with, for example, it was Monday campaigns on Monday, and in that sense, with big challenges, it's increment. It's less meat. I simply say eat less meat. I continue saying it until the lowest possible amount of meat is zero, so we drop it.
No, it isn't true.
And that's different with welfare campaigns, like say in bigger cages. I don't argue for bigger cages because bigger. At one point you stop because the cages is bigger than room or whatever people can think of. And what do we do then? That the cage is this big, but still the animal is used as merely a means. This finger is violated, and then this is too partial, but still this finger is violated. So, at one point, if you use a strategy of bigger cages, at one point you have to turn 90 degrees or so and say, from now on, we still need lesser cages. So, incremental steps, lesser cages, and I continue repeating that, and I will not say, I will skip the bigger cages, skip that, and I will say lesser cages. That's what we need. In incremental steps, one at a time, one cage at a time, but we go to zero in 2 years.
Thank you very much, and I also forgot to mention at the beginning that you were also a Sea Shepherd crew member in the Angelo campaign, right, 2007, 2008 in Antarctica, so we've been partners in different years being aboard the Sea Shepherd ship. Pleasure meeting you, thanks for sharing your knowledge with us, and I hope to see you again in the next conference.
Yeah.
Perfect.